Call meeting to order and give us the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item is approval of the agenda.
Have an addition for the agenda under 7C, PCDC invoices payable.
And then we also, I think we need to delete item 6. Any other additions or deletions?
Also, I had accidentally put on here the county misdemeanor fund. We can take that off. That's actually a transfer that the jail had. So the third bullet point under Steve Howe, that just can be crossed out.
Any other changes? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. 5. Oh, Lynn's not here either, is she?
No.
5-0. Next item is approval of minutes of the April 27th and May 15 meeting.
I
Go ahead.
have a change to that 427. I want it to be noted that on the page 3, the cops, I voted against that, and I want that notification in there, basically because not knowing where the funding was going to come from. It's at the top of the page here. Page 3.
Okay, so it needs to be 4.
It has where Kelly
You just want your name
voted
in there.
against it, and I want it noted that I voted against it also because of funding, not knowing where the funding's going to come.
Any other changes?
I will get the change.
You want to do these together again? Everybody okay with 5:15 minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve those.
Oh.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, second by Earl. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Next we have public comments. Which one goes first?
Ladies first.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. I have a quick comment. We spent a lot of money on the video system, and I want you guys to see what it looks like. It's terrible. You can't even recognize faces.
I can't even see anything yet.
Oh, sorry. There it is. It's horrible. You can't even recognize faces. It looks like you guys are like on top of something,
It's
and
like there's a glare.
the video is horrible.
This looks
Can you
fine.
zoom in on that?
Yeah.
Still.
Well, Paul, I thought I could. Yeah. See, even if you zoom in, you can't tell who's who. And we spent $15,000 on this, so I would think that it should be like
Let me see it.
something that,
I
This is
I
zoomed
watched
in.
these on my phone and mine doesn't look like that. I don't
No,
know.
mine don't.
Yeah.
I'll watch
I
it.
mean, I just
I'll watch
watched
it.
this.
why.
This is the,
When
Is
was
that
that?
a screenshot that's zoomed in
that's a screenshot, yeah, that was zoomed in
Okay. from the solid waste?
from the solid waste, yes. That was from solid waste, and it's horrible. I
Yeah,
mean,
now that looks bad,
And
but
I've watched others too. I mean, I've
Yeah.
watched them from home on my computer, and you can't tell who's who on it. And I know we were concerned about the mouths going with the faces, but I would personally would rather see the faces as a public person. I would rather see the faces to see who,
Yeah, we'll need to look into
Says
that. I
what,
know I
so-
watched one, and it was fine,
yeah.
but
I mean, I've watched some that were fine, but they seem like they're gradually getting worse.
Does it lag? Like, does it
It
have
does
like
not
a-
lag.
So it doesn't cut out?
No,
like it's like
it does not
internet
lag.
issue?
I mean, I watched it in my car on the way here and it did not lag at all.
Huh.
So it's not a connection issue.
Well, you talk
It's-
about the system. Yeah, we need one because in 2025, state statute is going to require us
Well, you've got
to
one,
be, yes, but the voice was not with the,
right,
the
but
picture
this is
either.
from this one.
Yeah.
This is from the new one that you
yeah.
spent
Yeah.
$15,000 on.
We'll have Greg take a look at it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
And
wanted to
maybe-
bring that up
It
because
may
it
be something
just,
he just needs to.
I mean, yeah, it's on my phone, but
It
still
has
you
to
should
be
be able
He can
to,
check the clarity and everything.
you should be able
Yeah.
to see it and
I
recognize
agree
who's
that
who.
that's
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
good,
this is
but
horrible.
I don't know why mine doesn't look like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Is
even.
it all the time or
even-
it cuts in and out?
Even not, like sideways, you still can't.
Yeah, that looks bad, but
Well,
You still can't, so.
I know we needed to upgrade. I don't know about this system, but
This
we
system
are going to
has a-
be
it is a-
required to, and all counties required to tape our meetings.
But that's what you're
so
doing. That's what you
Yeah.
pay $15,000 for.
I know.
so you
So
can have Greg look into it.
Okay.
We'll have Greg take
that,
a look at it.
that's all I have.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Gary Greibel, Human Resources Manager at Wapaka Foundry. Here in regards to the current status of the PCDC contract from this council's position. So where are you at in moving that contract forward would be my question.
I know there's a meeting scheduled for,
No, I'm just asking what your position is. Where are we going?
well, first of all, it has to be approved by the commissioners, I would assume.
Okay.
And then the council would be to
Yeah.
vote on that.
So what is your stance of, you're just simply waiting on the commissioners?
We have to wait and
We
see
have
what
to.
they do before we can
Fine.
say a
So-
staff.
So now I need to know where I need to go next.
Yeah.
Because at the commissioners meeting, there were statements made that they're waiting on certain other people. Well, I did some homework. They weren't waiting on anybody. But I'd like to point out the Perry County News from this Monday, Hallsville Company investing $51 million in a modernization to save 400 jobs. And then next to it is PCDC contract status to be revisited, like it's tabled, like we have no economic growth planned. That's frustrating. Their 400 jobs that they're reinvesting to save is a third of what I have in my building every day. So we're just sitting here. I understand you have timelines and inputs that you're waiting on, but I hope when it gets to this board that it moves forward and we just simply don't sit here. Because right now in this county is $1.7 million worth of ready funds brought into this county by the PCDC, making money for this county, going to increase the tax base for this county, and we can't even give them a budget to move forward with. Mr. Malone, I thank you for bringing the invoice to the table. We don't know the outcome yet, but at least pay them for what the work they're doing.
What
They're
work?
still doing work without a contract. That's the big thing.
From what I understand, PCDC has loads of money in their accounts. And I don't know what's the holdup, but I do know that they should be paying people because they have tons of money in there.
They can have tons of money, but not without, where's the contract to move forward and continue working with?
It was
Which I
my,
know you all have to wait on that.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You're fine.
It was my understanding from the commissioner meeting, because I was there,
Mhm.
that they were waiting on numbers from the PCDC, that Mr. Shearer was still waiting on. He had gotten some, but he was still waiting on some.
Correct. That's.
And I think since I don't know, David, you're on that.
I've not seen anything.
Randy, are you on that? Have you seen the numbers that, the rest of them that you were
I
waiting on?
haven't seen the numbers. He said they were all just penciled in that he had wrote down. I asked him to scan them. I haven't seen.
So I guess from the joint meeting, there was a committee put together, and it was the council president, the commissioner president, and the RDC president that were supposed to get together to work with the PCDC on, the ins and outs of the contract. I personally sent all of those individuals my wishes, what I would like to see included, because as a council member, I feel like I should have a part in that.
Absolutely.
Doesn't mean everything has to be.
Yeah.
It's just some ideas that I had that I would like to see for the contract. So
Sure.
it's my understanding at this point, did you say there's a meeting next week with them or with someone? Or you hope?
First of all, we had a meeting
Okay,
where we met with Randy and met with David Gottman, Aaron Emerson.
okay.
And at that meeting,
Was John
And John
Shear
Shear.
there? Okay.
and at that meeting, it was discussed, the contract and everything. And that meeting, we left there with, they were to get back with us their financial information. As far as I'm concerned, I have never seen that.
Okay.
Never seen that information.
So I followed up with the PCDC. And again, I don't care who does economic development. They just happen to be the ones currently in place. Just get economic development going.
Yeah.
But I followed up with the PCDC and they said they sent the numbers on May the 5th.
Yeah.
That's prior to the commissioners meeting. Don't know if that's true or not.
In the past, they have used the same contract over and over.
I understand. And then I followed up with John
And
Shear
we
because
have
his
a new
name got brought up.
administration, and people really want to know what PCDC is doing, how they're spending the county's tax money.
I understand and I appreciate that. I hope you all appreciate they can't say openly on some of
Right.
this stuff.
Sure.
You know, but on a
Yeah.
contract, measurables will put in place. That was one of the key points. We want measurables in place.
Right.
We can't even get a timeline. That's the first part of a measurable. When are we going to be done? Or what are we going to do to work towards it? Haven't heard any of that, with the exception of we're not going to put one in place. So I hope when it comes to you all, you move forward rapidly in some sort to get something in place so we can officially continue moving forward.
What we want is oversight and transparency with what they're doing, basically. And we've been at odds with them, trying to get them to show us stuff for years. I know, but I know
agree.
this is going back, but I know we
Right.
need, and the two sides, PCDC and Perry County commissioners and council need to look and see, and need to work together. But we're looking at transparency, and that's my main thing. I want to
So-
know where the tax dollars are going.
And I just
agree.
want to be clear that I haven't seen anything. Of course, they were
That's fine.
tasked to get something together
Mhm.
with the PCDC and then it was gonna,
What
I
we
assume,
asked
be
for is
presented.
just what their annual operating expenses were, PCDC, not monies that they take off and do all these different projects. We want to know what their operating salaries was. That was what we were waiting on. I've not seen that. Have you, Randy?
No.
So and we left that meeting thinking that had been settled, but evidently not.
I've been told that was sent.
No,
I-
it wasn't sent to me.
I'm just explaining what I was told.
Okay, well.
You could have been told something different than I,
I
because
wasn't
I left
told
the
anything.
meeting with a to-do list. Obviously, I'm in front of the commissioners talking to the wrong ones because they say they're not the holdup. I went to the person who they said they were the holdup. They say they're not the holdup. I went to the next person who said they were the holdup. That person was stated to be out of town, and he was. People lie.
Right.
I get that. But we got to keep moving forward.
Right.
Councilman, you said in years past, we got to drop the past.
Well,
We got to look for the future.
yeah,
You know?
you have to look for the future,
I
but
think
and
we
then
also have to learn from
you
the
you
past
also,
though. too.
yeah, you have.
Sure, we got to learn from the past, but
Nothing
we
has
don't
really
let the
changed
past
since
hold
the
up the
past.
future.
Nothing has really changed. Now, I want to change. I want transparency.
So,
And that's the change I want. I want to know where the tax dollars are going.
so in my 25 plus years at Wapaka, in my leadership classes, when it comes to contracts, a good contract is one that's good for both parties, not one to put the screws to the other.
Right.
So I hope that's what you're looking for, and not one to put the screws to the other and say, see, or no. So that's where I
Are
think
you
we're
offering
going here.
transparency of what PC is doing with your tax dollars?
I'm
How do
fine.
you offer transparency? What PC?
You got to realize in their position,
with your
it's got to be a little vague sometimes. Some of it can be upfront. If you negotiate that, wonderful. Some of it can't be, because as soon as they say XYZ company's coming in, land prices just jump, and then they say, we'll see you.
Well, there's
Okay.
salaries being paid in there, where I don't know
It's-
who
it's fine.
or
I
what.
just want forward movement.
Yeah.
All right.
We want,
So here's
I
some
want
timelines I've
transparency.
heard. I knew this was going to be a problem in October. The newspaper references February 13th. I've been in a meeting where it says we'll have it done by March 30th because we're better than the last group that was in here. I was at a community workshop that they said we'll have it done in 30 days, which is more than 30 days ago. Put a stake in the ground somewhere.
Here's my question. is the stake to just bid it out to whoever wants to bid it because we can't get the information from
That
PCDC that
is
we're
your all's
requesting?
call.
Maybe that's what we do.
I'm an employer of choice in this area.
Because
To
I
have a
don't want you to
meeting-
wait either.
To be an employer of choice, we need economic growth of
I
any way,
understand.
shape, or form. So
I
if you
agree.
want to erase the slate and start over, that's your choice.
Well, I don't want to, but we have to, in
I
order
don't
to
want
move
to either.
forward, if we have
I don't
proper
think it's as
numbers.
broke as you all say. That's me on the outside looking in.
Okay. Well, I understand, and I want to support the Foundry, and I want to support all the businesses and economic development and growth. We have to do it, be fiscally responsible with the tax dollars. And that's why I sent my list of things that I would like to see included. I'm sure some of them may be, some of them may not be. I understand that. I'm not unrealistic. But I just don't know what should be done if they're requesting specific information from the PCDC and they're not getting it. What's the next step?
Well, what I'll
Outside
do,
of bidding it out from
I
whoever
will
wants.
take it upon myself like I did the last time. If you're saying the PCDC is still a holdup,
Well, I
I
mean,
will roll
David,
into
he
their
doesn't have
office
what he's
tomorrow.
requested, and Randy, so I don't
Alright.
know.
because this has to keep moving
I
forward.
understand, I agree.
We at a Foundry just recently paid out a 6-month bonus to our employees. We immediately dropped 7 figures into this community.
I think that's wonderful.
Right.
It's wonderful.
And the one response I got for that, keep spending your money here. We like it. Yeah.
Yep.
So in my opinion, that was a slap in the face comment. So we're waiting on you to get the paperwork to make the next decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
I'll be back.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is Christina Hammock, Auditor. Update on EFT.
Yep, I wanted to give some updates on some steps forward we've been making in the auditor's office. Our staff is, I wrote notes out here so I wouldn't forget anything because I wanted to point out a lot of things here. So we've been taking baby steps to acclimate and ensure that all the T's are getting crossed and I's are getting dotted with transitioning to EFT. Which is electronic funds transfer. Instead of mailing out hundreds of checks each month, we will be paying our vendors, our routine vendors, by EFT. We started with our lit fund recipients and appreciated them working with us, calling them, kind of making sure they got their email. We had a few emails that didn't go out. We've tweaked that, realized some boxes weren't checked, getting that done. But we are set to roll out on our June 5th claim docket, full EFT with all of our vendors. Like I said, I just want to commend my staff as they have been doing a lot of work setting up the foundation for this. It's been a lot of work in the upfront part of it, but in the long run, this is definitely going to be more cost efficient for the county and of course more time efficient for our offices, and the vendors will get their money a lot faster. So that's kind of where we're at there. I did want to mention that we are running 2 claim dockets a month. It has just become impossible to get everything, all of our vendors paid in a timely manner with 1 claim docket. So at the beginning of the month, sometimes we don't even have the bills to be able to put, or the invoices to put them on the claim docket by then. And of course, they're going to be late or before the next one. So we will have our regular claim docket the first of the month, and then we will have our advanced claim docket the second commissioner meeting of the month, which is all the invoices that are due prior to the first of the month meeting. Running this advanced claim docket avoids late fees and interest charges. So that's an update on EFT. Then I also wanted to get an update on remote claims. Back in February, we had initiated to give all of our departments and our commissioners and councils members view access to their budget and financials. The reason for this is just for more efficiency, also clarity, transparency, as we hear that word a lot, where they don't have to wait on the auditor to print out or email them their financials at the end of each month. They have it at their fingertips. They can look at it anytime they choose. We have some offices that are out of the courthouse, which in a sense they have to go through a VPN. It kind of slows up the system because they have to basically route into our server. We're looking at other options to try and maybe speed that process up for them, working with IT on that. But we are going to be rolling out our next phase of remote into our what we're going to be doing our remote claims. Currently, right now, all of the departments handwrite or their claim form, attach their supporting documents, whether it be an invoice or receipt to be reimbursement for, hand deliver it to the auditor's office. We re-enter what they typed. So we're looking to add remote claims. And with this, the departments will be able to enter the claim there at their desk, scan their supporting documents, attach it to the claim form, or attach it to the system just like they would an email, and hit submit, and then it comes to our office to audit. This will be more time efficient. I think it will minimize human error of us maybe typing in and, be more efficient that way. Also, papers get lost. There's been a lot of that where we've been said, oh, well, we dropped that off. We can't find it. This will actually hold things more accountable where you can actually look and see when you submitted it, when you did it, when we have it. So I think that'll be a little bit more efficient on that end. Just like with EFT taking the baby steps, we're not going to do all the departments all at once. We kind of have a schedule of departments. We're going to start here with the courthouse, then transition to the sheriff's office once we are ready, then to the north annex, the south annex, then the highway. So it's kind of going to be baby steps. I did want to mention that I did find out from the State Board of Accounts, another positive for us switching to remote claims. The more the State Board of Accounts can view digitally without having to thumb through papers and all that, the less it costs us with our audits. So the more they can do offsite. So with us switching to our claims being remote, digitized, they'll be able to audit more offsite. Another benefit is just for the departments in general, to where or the commissioners or council, if they have any questions about, a payment, they can click on the attachment and see what it's for, view the invoice, instead of having to stop in the office to go through a paper file, or call me and I have to stop my day or my deputies to go pull it out, scan it, and email it. Just a lot more ready information at everybody's fingertips. I've kind of jumped around here in my notes, want to make sure I'm kind of glancing, make sure I hit everything that I said. Like I said, looking up things will be easy. Attachments will be just like an email. Also, avoid papers getting lost, more accountability. I've also been informed with I know we're talked about a time and attendance software instead of having paper pencil time cards. That's another benefit with our audits that will minimize our expenses, because if we digitize those, they can be audited offsite and not have to come and actually pull paper time cards. So some pluses here as we transition into that. The next thing I had was the budget. Did you have a copy of that? No, sorry, I haven't got my copy. I started to put together the 2023 budget calendar for 2024, and I sent that all to you guys, but we will be starting our budget preparation with our LAO software next week. And I hope to have all the handouts and budget information to the departments for them to start putting their budget requests together. Hope to have that out by the end of the week, in the end of the week of June 5th, so at the latest June 9th. The deadline for the departments to get that back would be Friday, June 30th. The next item is the budget workshop for county taxing units to meet with the DLGF budget representative, Robert Norris. I actually spoke with Mr. Norris yesterday. He said he is going to be sending out the dates that he will be at each individual taxing unit, each county. So as soon as he gets me the dates that he will be here, I will let you guys know. Last year, he was here August 5th and 6th. We have to have our Form 3 into Gateway and advertised in the news. I plan to have that to the news and everything advertised by the end of August, where it will be advertised in the Monday, September 4th edition of the Perry County News, which of course I know that's a holiday, but it'll go that week. The council review and establish levy and circuit breaker reductions by the DLGF of political subdivision and county will be at the August meeting, August 24th. The session between council and individual departments, public hearing and first reading of the budget will be Wednesday, September 13th at 5 o'clock. The budget session, if everybody's good, we'll move that up a week. I know we've got the AIC conference, which is the 26th, 27th, and 28th, which is the week that you guys have normally done in the past, do the workshop. I didn't want to push it into October, so I thought we'd go the week before, September 19th, 20th, and 21st. And then the budget adoption, October 12th. This is pretty much the exact same calendar we did at the past years. So I just copied the exact off of that. So just wanted to get those dates out there. I know that the departments, I've spoke with a lot of them that are already working and getting things together. So I just want to make sure I made it public that basically next week we will start for 2024.
So everybody needs to make sure you take a look at those dates and
Yes.
make plans for those dates, you know.
Thank you for your time.
Next item on the agenda is additional appropriation. I think Steve Howell's here.
Yes.
It's your community crossing grant.
Yeah, this is pretty much just getting the money in place. We had to appropriate that $607,000 and then got, I think it's $57,000. The $57,000, I don't know for sure if we'll need that on community crossing here. No, we haven't got the bid yet, which will be open June the 5th. But if we get the distressed road loan, we're gonna need some money for that. So that's what that amounts for.
The 57.
Mhm.
It's for the distress loan road.
Yeah, possibly. Depending on if we don't need it for community crossings.
Anybody have any questions for Steve?
Is that first one a transfer or additional appropriation? It's within the community crossings budget, right?
This is receiving, they've actually received, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, because we did the transfers
Yeah.
in April, which is our matching.
Right.
And then this is the actual funding that we're receiving from the grant. The
Yeah, I
six-
don't think we've received it
We
yet.
haven't received it yet, but we have to.
appropriate it
That's
before
what-
we can.
It gets confusing to me.
Yeah.
It was confusing to me because I think additional appropriation is additional funding that we need to find.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we, Steve and Marilyn and I spoke about this, but they're saying that basically they have to, the appropriation is basically getting the approval for the spending,
Yeah.
putting it in there. It's not the approval of the spending of the grant. So that's why we list it as an additional appropriation. It's not any additional funding that we have to find, even the same way with the transfers, that you had that money
Yeah.
already budgeted. We just transferred it to the community crossings matching.
Right.
So just got to talk it through and think it through.
Yeah, you just making sure the money's in there so you can use it,
Yes.
basically, yeah.
We still need to
Okay, it
have a
doesn't
motion
matter.
to.
Yes, to approve both of these appropriations because,
I would like to approve it or motion.
Motion by Stan,
accept.
Second.
second by Paul. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Steve, when did you say you were gonna open those bids?
June the 5th, I
June
think.
5th.
when that's
Mhm.
gonna be open.
Okay.
yeah, we've received, no, we haven't received any. The one we received the other day was for Force Camp. No, we haven't received any yet, but I had several requests, three or four requests.
Yeah, there's 3 of them told me that they
Yep.
had asked for bid for them.
Yep.
Should get at least 3 bids on it.
I think that's great. It makes it more competitive.
And they end up want you to have 3 bids if you can.
Okay.
Or a letter explaining why you couldn't get 3
I like
bids.
that whole idea.
Yeah. Also, talked to Chris about this. I had a transfer and she said, didn't have to bring it before you guys, but I want to explain it to you what it is if somebody asks questions about it. We're transferring $3,000 from SALT to training. We hired a truck driver back about the first of the year, and he had a CDL license with an ag endorsement on it. So he went down to the local license branch and talked to them about it, and they said work, I forgot, 2 weeks or a certain period with another person that had a CDL. That didn't work. They went back and they couldn't give him one, so I called Indianapolis and they said, no, they told him wrong, but we will straighten them out. So for what good that does us. So now we gotta send him to CDL training. It's less than, the last one we did was 3,300. This is, or 3,600. This is 3,000. And he can do it evenings and weekends and stuff now. So we need to get him where he can get his type A CDL.
So this is where Marilyn and I spoke, and I know I've spoken with other departments, and I'm just going by what the way I understand everything. Additional appropriations have to be advertised 10 days prior to the council meeting and have to be approved. Transfers that are going from one fund to another fund have to be approved. They don't have to be advertised, they have to be approved. What they call, what Pam described to me as in-house transfers, where if it's within the same fund, so if you're still in the same fund, but you're just transferring it to another line item, which we call account, we don't have to.
So this is not changing.
No, it is an in-house,
Yeah.
in-house
Yeah, I just wanted you
transfer.
all, in case somebody asks you
Yes.
questions to the highway department sending people to school,
Right.
yeah, we are.
We think that we talk everything through when we do it. I'm like, okay, this is an in-house, this is, to know. So, but yes, Steve keeps us, and Marilyn keep us very informed on everything.
And then, I guess the next thing, discussion on our interest money. I've got a problem with that. I don't really understand, this money is highway, I mean, it's always been paid to the highway department. We get interest from motor vehicle, highway, local road and street, Cume Bridge, stress road repayment, third wheel. And that's always came back to the highway department. It's highway department that earns it. Or I mean, it's highway department money that earns the interest. So the interest, I would think, should be the highway department's.
What do you use that interest for?
Just different things.
Right.
It just goes back into our fund.
About how much money you talking about a year?
Last year was $13,801.26, which ain't a big amount of money, but anytime somebody's taking money from the highway department, I'm gonna be here asking why. I think that's my job as
There you
superintendent. And, we try to get by as efficiently as we can out there. We try, I don't understand why they're taking money that's always been our money. And it's gonna go to general fund or whatever it goes to now instead of the highway department.
How do you budget for a new piece of equipment?
We put money in new equipment at the budget time. And, we'll put 80, 100,000, whatever we think in there.
So every year, we're not gonna see that because you're not buying something every year.
Yeah, we don't buy every year, but, well, we bring it to you guys like I think we got 80,000 in the budget this year for new equipment.
I was looking for that.
Steve, is there any type of schedule that you have that says, because you have equipment that's very expensive?
No, we don't.
So,
No, we don't.
I know that Chris is in departments, I think, are gonna work on their assets, what
Mhm.
they have, and maybe you already have a list of that.
Inventory.
I've
I
got
would
the
really like
I've got it in
to-
the inventory, yeah.
Maybe look at that and then
Okay.
see what, where you're at in the lifespan of what you have and when we need to move forward. And I would be okay with a portion of this interest money that's earned on the county dollars to be set aside into a county equipment fund, kind of like the county maintenance,
Oh, yeah.
the county building maintenance fund
Yeah.
that was established last fall whenever the jail was paid off and the tax was lowered, but a little portion of it was set aside for county building maintenance because we never had that. And we need to look for the future and what we're going to do, and everything just can't be a big catastrophe, every time,
Right.
and we have to go out and rob from Peter to pay Paul to have something. So I would be okay with some of the interest money, a certain percent or something up to a certain amount, and we could look at what equipment you have and what the longevity is of it, and just see,
Yeah, we
would
got
that
some
be
track-
something that would be of interest to you?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I
it
think
would
that
be.
would help the county
But
to
Steve,
be more prepared for the future.
you count on that money. I mean,
Yeah, we
you
use-
know in your budget that
Yeah,
historically you've got around 13,000 or so
yeah.
additional money. So if that's taken away, you gotta make that up somewhere
We're
else.
going, yeah.
It's not in your
Because
budget,
it goes in your cash balance. It doesn't, you still have your, see, this is where somebody new coming in, and I'm still learning things, but there's a difference in these funds. You've got a cash balance and you've got an appropriation, or what you say, a budget. So you might have an account or a fund that has 800,000 in it, but you only have appropriated or a budget of 400. So you've got extra cash in your fund to where it's easier for you to do additional appropriations, if that makes sense. Is that what you're saying? Because this really doesn't affect it doesn't affect changing your budget. It's not taking away from your budget. It's just taking away from your cash
Yeah,
balance.
yeah.
So
But if you had something set
Which
aside
could
where
be
a
used for
dedicated
his
amount was
can be used for his budget, yes.
county equipment and maintenance of, I don't know, tools or whatever the ordinance, there would have to be something set for what the specifics. I'm all for this interest money not being a slush fund. I want it to be intentional. I want it to be for county needs, replacing your equipment or whatever. There's other things that I think it could be,
No, I
because
mean,
there's
we
a
could-
significant amount of interest that we
Yeah.
earn. And
I think, go ahead. I think other counties are putting the interests in general fund. And-
Yeah, some of them are,
And we're trying to make some accounting changes and
they,
not have everybody have a little fund set aside when it should be all
well,
in the county general and then give it out.
I was told that 40 counties do this and 20-some don't and all that.
Yeah.
Spencer County don't do it. We talked to Spencer County, and Spencer County don't get the interest off their money, but they get the interest off the lit money down there.
Mhm.
So last month, they got $3,080 in the highway department's funds from the lit. So everybody may not do it the same way, but they were compensated. And I mean, I don't know however county it operates, but I know they told me that they get that money back.
would there be a way to, even outside of this, for you to have a schedule or something of what equipment you have, when you think it might need to be replaced, or
Well, yeah,
if there's something that is going bad now that's $100,000?
that's possible. We've got 2 or 3 tractors that's got between 8,000 and 9,000 hours on them. That's a lot of hours on them. They might run 4 or 5 years and they might blow up tomorrow. It's,
Yeah. I think we need to plan ahead for the future, and that's
Yeah.
why I'm kind of of the idea that setting aside a certain amount of this, no difference than when we set aside a certain amount for county building maintenance.
I think the state is pushing for all counties to find out where their assets are, aren't
Oh,
they?
yeah.
And they're pushing that pretty hard now.
we've always maintained an inventory out there.
Yeah.
We've got one, we always have had a inventory, showing everything.
But
we got.
they kind of want to see it upstate.
I just
Are
don't
you-
want it
They
to be
want
a scramble
everything
when
that
you
we
need
do
something,
go
when something
upstate.
significant goes
Yeah.
bad. I don't want to have to say, well, we'll have to take from
Now, when
somebody else.
Susan was in there, me and her worked on inventory every year. And, I'd update the inventory and send it to her every year. I don't know where it goes from there, but, we've maintained the inventory and worked with the auditors office on it every year. I think it was anything over $500 that we had on our inventory.
Steve, I'd also like to say, this is, of course, I haven't been through a budget session as a council person, but I've came to these meetings for the last 10 years. And I have noticed that you're very diligent with your budget and you always try to make cuts and I feel like you
Yeah,
really try to do those things. And I think I've even thanked you before in years past because I said you kind of set an example for others, I believe, or a precedence for me as to what I expect at budget time. And I just wanted to tell you I appreciate that.
I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
That's like Community Crossings. When that started, we had to have an asset management plan, and we got swamped with consultants wanting to do one for us.
Yeah.
Started out 60,000, then I told some of them we was gonna do our own, they got down to 40,000. But we did our own and didn't cost the taxpayers 40,000 or 60,000 or whatever. Same way with the application. We don't hire consultants to help us with any of that. And the distressed road loan, we don't, we try to save everywhere we can out there.
We do the whole bidding,
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You do all that.
I think we just need to look at the interest as a whole.
Probably so. Well, with the application for Community Crossings, the second year, it started in 2016. In the second year, the state said consultants are not allowed to do your application. But there's still a whole bunch of people that
Still use
get
consultants.
consultants to do it. They just don't let them sign their name or push the button, send it. But
You know your needs.
We appreciate
better.
you not breaking that rule.
they want all that money going on the road.
Absolutely.
They
Yeah.
don't want it being spent for consultants. They want it being spent on the roads.
Yeah, and you've done a great job getting the community crossings grants over the,
Well, we've been really
Last several
lucky so
years.
far, yeah.
whatever you're doing, it's working, so please keep it up.
I guess we've been awful lucky about it. but-
Right. Well, thank you. We'll take a look at this and that kind of something.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda is Perry County Convention Business Bureau 2023 budget. I think,
Get your shot.
no, that was taken off.
Oh, it's taken off, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he got removed.
I think we had this on here, we were asking for a budget from the CBB. I think the state statute requires that they provide us a budget, no different than any other agency that we deal with. And
David, I actually emailed the State Board of Accounts to just clarify, because I questioned because it's tax dollars, so with the
Right.
innkeeper's tax, if that was something, because everyone else who has that same situation usually has to prepare a budget. And so I asked the State Board of Accounts, and I talked to Lori Rogers, at State Board of Accounts, and her email back to me says, Kelly, the innkeeper's tax is opposed by the county. IC code 6-9-18 is the Uniform County's innkeeper tax code. When the tax is imposed, the county executive is to appoint a commission. The Tourism Commission is a department of the county and is required to have a budget approved by the county council. And she copied the statute below, and I think I sent that to everyone. Chris, am I correct that you've made multiple attempts to try to get that budget?
I have spoken in person. We had a meeting, an innkeeper tax meeting, with myself, the treasurer, the president, and the director of the CVB. We spoke about it then. I didn't get anything. I did email, and the email response was she would have to get with her board with them being a nonprofit. And that's kind of where I stand.
How long has that been? Do you think they've had a board appointment or a board meeting since? Or
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. It was back, I should have looked up that date that email went out.
I
It was in
I sent this in March, this
Yeah.
email, so.
Yeah.
the budget is the budget of the Tourism Commission,
Mhm.
not the private.
That's okay.
That's what,
Yeah, that's what the statute says.
right.
And if you want, I can send another email out tomorrow, copying all of you on it and asking one last time, asking again where it's formal, everybody there, last time it was just a, hey, I haven't got that back from you yet.
Yeah.
So I can send another email since they're not here tonight to,
I would appreciate that because I don't want, what, go ahead.
Yeah, come up.
Sorry. I was on the CVB board for 2 years. It's a lot to learn in 2 years. There's a lot there. There is a commission, which is governed by the IC code. Commission, and then there is a private entity, which is your not-for-profit.
Right.
The commission, basically the money goes to the commission gives it to the CVB board, and the board distributes it appropriately. I did talk to Casey today because we saw it on the agenda. She said she was not contacted to be here today. Nobody from the CVB was contacted to be here today about it. It was just on the agenda. So there were some people that were a little upset that was on the agenda and they weren't contacted to be represented by the CVB board. So I told him, I said, well, I'm going. I said, I'll say what I can. I'm not on the board anymore, but I was on the board. So I kind of know how the inner workings go on the board. The commission is a total separate deal from the actual, what you appoint to the board. It's a separate thing. You have your commission meeting first, and then you have your regular meeting, which is a private. The
Which
commission meeting is public.
It sounds to me like it's a way around, they have their own budget with the second portion of it.
It's not a way around
Yeah,
anything. I mean, it's innkeeper's tax, which is, the innkeeper's tax is collected. It is collected through the county. The county turns around and gives it to the CVB board or the CVB commission. The commission then distributes it to the regular board.
But
I think we heard at the commissioner meeting, that was explained how you're correct. That's how that works. And then the commissioners were asking, what is the purpose of the private board when we have public tax dollars go? I mean, I know you can, but I guess my question would be then.
Right, it's not unlike having solid waste board and then you have a solid waste committee. It's
Right.
similar to the same thing.
I understand. I'm personally not okay with tax dollars being transferred to an
But
appointed
But it's not
public
really
board.
tax dollars. It's
It is.
innkeeper.
It is tax dollars.
It's innkeeper.
It's
a
tax
tax.
dollars.
It's an
It's in
innkeeper
the
tax
statute.
though. It's not
innkeeper's
your
tax.
property taxes or
No.
anything like
It's a
that.
tax though.
It's an innkeeper tax.
It's still a tax that belongs
it's
to
in
the
the state
taxpayer.
statute, that's why they put it in there,
The
and
state
it is a
statute is
tax.
for the commission.
Yes.
But the question is, my question is, I would like to see the commission's budget, and if it is, do you say it's just a transfer to a private entity, a private
The
board?
commission keeps a certain amount in there and then it gets transferred to the board. Now, like I said, I was on there for 2 years. I don't know, I mean, I'm not like a Joan Hess that would
Yeah.
know, that's been on there for years, or Danny Bolin or somebody that's been on there for years and years. But I told him I would do what I could to try to explain. I mean, the innkeeper's taxes from people that come into the county.
Yeah.
But heads in beds, basically. I mean, they come into the county, they stay in our hotels, they stay in our cabins, they stay in these, different places. And then that tax is collected by those entities, by the Holiday Inn, by the Ramada Inn, by the people that have the cabins. That is what, if you go anywhere in Florida, anywhere, you pay that innkeeper's tax. And then that is distributed back, the county collects it. And then the county gives it to the CVB.
This county council is the one,
Put it in order.
is the one that authorized that tax.
I think it was 1995. The county council had to put that
That's
in
how
place.
Right,
And they set it at 5% of what you were saying, the overnight
which is
stays.
pretty low, really.
I think it's the max is what is 5%
Yeah.
is what you can collect.
I'm like,
But I just basically I just want to see the budget.
I don't wanna
basically
see-
I don't want to be out of compliance with state statute because I can't get a
I
copy
understand
of a budget.
that, but I do feel like we should have gotten a hold of the CVB board for somebody to be here to represent.
But Chris has
Instead
tried
of
multiple
putting it-
times, and so this really
Did
was a
you
discussion.
contact them to ask them to be here tonight?
all my job is to ask for the budget. And
Yeah.
I've asked for the budget and they're just asking
Okay,
why they haven't
but
got the budget.
it's on the agenda.
Because we needed to discuss it, because if
It's
we're not
on the
getting,
agenda. Okay, so, but if you're gonna discuss it, wouldn't it be
They're
To have
welcome,
somebody here to
they're welcome to
represent.
come, yes, but it was more, I mean, I understood it as a council discussion because we're not getting what we need to be in compliance with state statute. And I am not okay with being an elected member of a board that is out of compliance because I can't get the information I need to be in compliance.
Okay,
It says, like, Gloria Rogers says the innkeeper's tax is imposed by the county. IC 96918 is the uniform county innkeeper's tax. When the tax is imposed, the county executive is to appoint a commission. The tourism commission is a department of the county and is required to have a budget approved by the county council. That's all we're asking.
It's not, I'm not questioning, I just want to make sure that
It's
I'm in
probably a
compliance.
fairly simple budget, I would think.
I mean, I believe it is, yeah. I mean, the commission is I would think.
Yeah, it seems
And
like,
maybe they don't understand what you're looking for. I don't know. But,
And the reason I haven't asked them specifically is because the auditor of the county has been asking, and I didn't think I would muddy up the water and say, she's asking, I'm asking, David's asking. I mean, it would just be easier for her to ask.
Yeah.
One person anyways, whoever
Right.
that is.
right,
it was more just a discussion of
Yeah.
why we have not received the budget, I think. It's been requested
Or
multiple
if she
times.
had gotten the budget since.
well, in the 2
request.
years that I was on there, it never came up that the budget was to be presented to the county.
Yeah.
Never came up.
It's
I
been-
honestly didn't know either until I contacted the state because I was just curious about it because I'm new and I just wanted to know how that worked. And when she told me that, I thought, uh-oh, it's one thing to be unaware of the statute, but then
Right.
it's another thing if we just disregard it altogether after we know it. So
Right.
we have to go ahead and get it.
And there has been a transition. Betty Cash was
Mhm.
the court or the, director for years and years and
Sure.
years. And it may have been that she presented it every year. I don't know. And Casey may not know that she
Have you
needs to
ever
present
No,
that.
it was never presented.
And that's okay. I mean, it's just it might have just
They-
been an
they probably
oversight. It's
realized-
not
Probably
anything
didn't know that
intentional.
that had to be
I'm
presented.
not saying it's
But we're trying to
intentional.
make things right. We're trying to keep within the state statutes and
I
try to do
understand
our
that.
job.
I understand that.
How many states will get written up, and
Yeah, we're gonna have an audit soon, right? You said this year.
Oh,
so-
I'm in the middle of the 2021-22 audit right now. And I understand what you're doing. I'm just trying to
Mhm.
explain
Yeah,
a
I
little bit
appreciate you
about,
doing that, yeah.
that in the 2 years I was on the board, there was never mention of, oh, we got to get this budget to the county. So I would say that they probably do not know that. That it's not known that the budget has to be presented to the county.
Years ago, I was on the convention, there's a motion commission early on. And I remember doing a budget on, it was state board accounts. It's like
And maybe it got lost in
big
the
paper.
mhm,
All
transition.
these different,
Was that Betty?
no, this is way before Betty. This is in the 90s.
Okay. So it might have got lost in transition. I don't
Well,
know.
and like you said, there's turnover and everything. It's
Right.
really, I mean,
And I did their
it's
books
really
for
not a big
years
deal as long as
for
we
when
get it and we can look at it and
Jeremy
review it
Yankee
through it annually.
Yeah.
He was on there.
Yeah.
That's the last one that I worked with. was
Yeah.
Jeremy.
What I'll do is I'll send a formal email because it's been pretty informal right now,
Sure.
just asking the director. But I'll send an email tomorrow
Okay.
and copy the council on there with the Indiana code and all the logistics and ask for it again where it can be a formal ask or formal letter. So I'll just issue a formal letter. Yeah, because I honestly don't know that Casey knows that that needs to be submitted. I really don't with her.
Hey, David, may I ask just real quick, I'm sorry.
Sure.
What's the purpose of the private Indian to begin with? That's creating a lot of this confusion in my.
Again, I was only on there for 2 years, so it's a learning process to learn the commission and then to learn the private. But, I mean, I can't answer that. You'd have to ask somebody that was on there a lot longer than me.
It's just, I guess you can understand from my standpoint, not knowing anything, if I go
Right.
to their meeting and
Right.
they say, well, we're moving money to the private and then sir, you need to leave now because now we're going to discuss how we want to spend the tax dollars.
Right.
You can understand how that looks.
I
I'm not saying
don't know that the commission can do that,
They don't.
but I don't know. I don't know that, I don't know. I'm not gonna say that for sure, because I don't know. I'm not gonna make an assumption. But I do want to say that the CVB is a fantastic thing. And they do bring a lot of people into Perry County to, during COVID, whenever nobody could eat out, nobody could do anything.
they could still do the train. And we won't even talk about the train, we won't start on that, but they could still do the train, and the people coming in for the train were going to our restaurants, or they were ordering out for our restaurants. They were getting carry out and take out. And some of these restaurants have specifically told the CVB, if we wouldn't have had you, we wouldn't be here right now during COVID.
They are doing what they are supposed to be doing, promoting tourism.
Right,
That's what
right,
they're supposed to be doing.
right. I understand that, and that's what I'm saying. It's a good
Right.
thing. The CVB is a good thing because they are.
But
Promoting
nobody's
tourism
questioning
and-
that. We just want oversight on their budget.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Thanks, Ben.
Yep.
I guess we're through with that.
Yep.
Next, we have on longevity pay incentive.
I attended the budget workshop last year with Pam Goffnet. And one of the things that was mentioned at the workshop was that a lot of times this last year wasn't, what I gathered was last year was not the first year it was talked about as far as adding a longevity or looking at a longevity for county employees. And I made a note in my calendar, like I did a lot of things that Pam told me to make sure I remembered. And one of them was this, to the longevity. Before we start budget, we kind of need to look at if we can afford a longevity, if it's even a possibility thing for us to add into the budget. So I need basically the starting point as to where, as we move forward with budgets, to present to each department, because each longevity, if budget is going to have to be budgeted by department based on their current numbers. So if we get the numbers right now, it's basically a worse, the most it would be based off of the employees. So I reached out to different, on our auditor news feed that we have, email stream, and I sent you guys some different counties that have responded with different longevity pay schedules, or David and I spoke yesterday, kind of looking at them, and spoke that, we want to start at the beginning here. So I know I had emailed you one out that is based off of after completing 2 years of working 2 full years. So on your the start of your third year, starting at $100 longevity benefit, and broke it out based off on a 7-hour, 8-hour, and 12-hour day. I think we probably need to do 10-hour. Well, I guess it really wouldn't matter because the highway works 10 hours, don't they, Steve? Okay, so yeah, not 10, 12. I just thought about that when I did that. So basically doing the 100, then it after 3 years, 150, basically increasing at $50 up to 20 years, being at the 2,000, and gave you guys the hourly.
That is annual too.
Annual, yeah. The annual amount, and then breaking it down into the hourly breakdown. So,
Do you know what our turnover rate is?
no.
I just wondered what the turnover rate.
Huh? I mean, you can ask the sheriff's department.
Sheriff's office.
Sheriff's office, I say that all the time, I know, sheriff's office. I know that that's one thing that I'm hoping that's better for my office. I know that it was something that the auditor's office in the past has struggled. They had a lot of turnover. I do know that, but as far as numbers, I do not know that. But I do know that it is kind of always been a discussion or something, I think, in the normal world, where if you've got someone that's worked there 15 years and then you have somebody that comes in and they make the same amount right off. I think we need to entice, that's of course your guys' decision whether you want. I'm just bringing you the information that you guys had spoke about at last year's budget as far as planning ahead for it, because we can't wait till September. It has to start now.
When I saw that on the our program here, I went out and researched because I didn't know too much about it, longevity pay. And basically it's what I thought it was. It was just like the bonus pay with so many years you've worked. And I think they pay that in February or something. But and I don't know whether I'm for it or against it right now. But I don't know whether the county can afford it, for one thing. Would it be worth our while, while to spend time on it when we can't afford it, I guess,
But can we afford to orient people? I mean, that's costly
Do what?
to orient people, when someone quits and then you have to orient somebody.
Well,
You gotta consider
I've got
those
some
things, too.
arguments for it and against it. And,
Yeah.
and, I've read all that. But it's whether this county can afford it or not.
So
I think we
Chris,
were just
you,
kind of waiting to look at this to see if it,
See what the
to
numbers
come
look
up
like.
with the numbers and to see it may not even work in our budget, It's not that we're going to do it.
Right.
It just, we can't wait till September and then in budget and try to come up with all these calculations.
It's
So I think
something for
that's kind of what we
consideration,
wanted to
right? I
do.
mean, you provided this information to be thinking about, research,
Sure.
look into.
But I have to have what I want to do is we're starting with a budget, you have to figure the numbers. So I need to know, okay, what numbers do you want us to look at, to figure out if we can afford it, So that's why I gave different options and basically started at the very beginning, It's one of those things where you can always add more, but taking it away. So started at the bare, to be honest, and not to say it any other bluntly, but started at the bare minimum at the very beginning of it. So if you want me to figure numbers on this for budget, that's what I'm asking.
It's sort of the same way as like, in the past, they've done like a 2%, 3%, 4% raises, and, they do all these calculations before the budget.
Mhm.
And then we had that available, then we can work it into our budget to see if it's feasible
Right.
or whatever. That's all we're doing.
Yeah, that is in addition to their base pay. And if the
True.
employee is getting overtime, then that would have to be factored into the employee's overtime pay, according to what I've read.
Yeah, so basically, basically when you break this down, so like at a $100 longevity bonus or whatever you want to say, pay based off of a 7-hour workday, you would make an extra nickel an hour. So if your base salary is $17, then you're going to make $17.05 an hour. And that would be your pay, and that would be what your wages are figured off of. So yes, it would be included.
David, in the past, Chris, and you have said also, David, that this has been discussed several times in budgets in the past.
It has.
Was the reason there was no funding? Is that or what were the reasons when the discussion came up that I
I
know?
think it was just never taken to the next step even.
It was never planned out to see if
It's
it could be
never planned
afforded.
or anything,
Well,
It's just,
in the past, I was on the council in the past. And I talked about the past, but I was there. And we basically, we didn't have the money at all. And basically, we just had to toss out all the raises until we figured out that we can meet what the state needed us to meet on our
that's
budget.
the same way we did last
And
year.
then, in most of the years, we couldn't. We didn't have the money at all,
And we may not be able to.
So am I under the correct assumption that if this begins, it's continual? Like it's every year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not something you decide on every year.
Once you commit.
Once you say you're doing it,
commit
it's there.
Yeah, I think once you.
That's what I
commit,
thought.
it's there.
I know in other budget times, they've done stipends or,
Right.
maybe not for longevity, but just instead of a raise or,
I'd rather wait until we get a budget session under our belt to see what dollars we're looking at this year. I don't know,
But I'm just throwing this out there. If
Yeah.
you wait,
yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to put these numbers together for you in September in 3 days when I'm working on a
She's
budget.
not saying we're going to do this. It's just you're gonna have those figures available to you at budget time.
I'd be okay to see the figures. I have to see
And
them to
we
even know.
vote on every item that we budget at budget time. So if this comes up and we vote it down, and it doesn't happen, but she's just wanting to know how much it would be. It's all we're trying to, I think that's what you're trying to do,
I mean,
right?
Exactly.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay to see. I actually want to
We're
see.
not, we're not doing it.
I think it's okay to see the number as long as
Right.
it's not too much work for you, Chris, to have to, I
No,
don't
to
want
be
you to put a
honest,
lot of time
it's
into
better
something
to
that may
do
not
this now. Sorry, I didn't mean to overtalk you.
It's okay.
It's better to do this now, like where I can give this plan out. I'm getting ready to lay everything out, get everything set up in our software. So if we lay it out now, and then I'm gonna let each department do their own, if that makes sense. Where when they submit their budget to me, they're gonna have this part of their salaries or wages, I like saying wages rather than salaries, included. Does that make sense? Where then I've got theirs and then I double check it with the years and whatnot. So
Instead of you doing them individually, they'll do them
instead of me
themselves.
doing every
But you-
single one of them, it sets up kind of
As long as they know
two
that it
sets
may
of
not
eyes.
happen, we're
Yeah.
not committing to it happening.
well, everything they
It's just-
submit,
Yeah,
that,
right.
everything they request doesn't mean it's gonna happen
so
anyway. in the
what
budget.
schedule would you go by, or you'd go by several different,
I don't-
scenarios?
I would
'Cause I know there's counties that are different completely on how they do this.
And that's why the last one that I sent you guys out to review, like I said, that's
That's the one you're looking at?
well, it's the very beginning. It's the very beginning.
Yeah.
It's the beginning. It's not a obscene amount.
Mhm.
It's starting at the 100. There's a lot of other counties that are more. This is starting at the beginning. Yes, wait, sorry.
To start with, to help you out, why don't each department head give you a list of their employees and how long these employees.
That's what she's
have been working? So and that way you've got some figures. Now, like my department, everybody's on salary, but we're classified as volunteers. Now, they are part-time people, but they're on salary, so now they get maybe, if I have anybody that's over 3 or 4 years on department, they're going to get a half a cent of pay period, because that'd be about all I'm down to.
Well, it's a longevity annual amount that's broke down. So if they're on a salary amount, then it would just be added into there.
A salary of $3,000 a year or $3,400 a year, not going to be much per pay period.
Right. Right. Did everybody see
I would
the
like to
last
see
one?
those figures, but I
Okay.
just, in the back of my mind, I don't know if we can afford it or not, even if the figures look really good, so.
We won't know until we
but,
see the figures.
I would like to see
So
them, I guess.
The last one that I put together, which was basically, which there are a lot of counties that I looked they're start here at the $100 after 2 full years of service, and then raising $50 a year, capping out at $2,000 the beginning of your 20th year. Is that the one you want me to figure off of?
That's the cheapest one.
That's the cheapest. I was trying to use the right words. Start at the beginning and
Now,
There is one that's 1,000 after 15
now,
years.
from what I understand, Chris,
You can cap out, or sorry, you can stop as early, but they start, if you look,
It's the,
yeah,
So it's much higher.
it starts higher.
from what I understand, Chris, you can always add to it in years, but you can't go backwards. on it.
Correct.
So, and it's forever.
Very correct.
or we could come up with a stipend program for people with longevity, I guess we could do it too. And just do it annually if, or,
Mhm.
decide annually if there's something you want to do for that, if we have the funds.
To me, it doesn't hurt to work
Yeah.
the numbers. and
I
see,
agree.
And then you get, if that doesn't work, then maybe you do. the stipend.
Absolutely.
There we go. So I will figure, I will give this information to the departments, offices, to figure with their budget.
Should there be a motion or just let you just do it? I'd make a motion on it, that's fine. I'd like to see the numbers.
I don't think you need a motion.
Okay,
Okay,
Make it.
you're the president.
Okay, next item in addition, PCDC invoices payable.
Yes, I brought that up. This was discussed earlier in the year. That one of the reasons why the PCDC invoices weren't paid is because there wasn't a contract. And I double checked with legal and they confirmed what I thought. You do not need a contract to pay an invoice. Simple as that. A couple examples that was given to me. You got teachers have a contract. They teach, the contract runs out. Most of the time that contract's in place. But if there's no contract and negotiations are going on, the teachers still teach and they get paid. Same way with labor unions and electricians, carpenters, same principle. The PCDC, here it is now, May, for January, February, March, April, now May. They have provided a service, have not been paid for it. It's no different. Stan, you made a comment a while ago about, they have operating funds. Yes, they do, but if I chose not
I
to
didn't
pay.
hear what you said,
if I-
Paul.
Yeah, you made a comment about they got money to operate on, for
Yeah.
a while. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
If I chose not to pay my water bill, the water company will have money to operate on, but I still owe the water bill. At some point in time, I gotta pay it.
Yeah.
Okay, the fact that PCDC's been operating all this time without being paid, it speaks volumes for them, okay? Their care, their commitment for the county and the area goes a long way. Mr. Gravel had an article in the paper about Domtar and $51 million expansion. I think we too have kind of lose sight. Economic development doesn't have boundaries. What PCDC does is not just for Perry County, but it's for the whole area. There's people in Perry County working at Domtar. A lot of people. That's good. People live in Kentucky, working in Indiana. It's a regional thing. They go and done a very good job of providing the service. Bottom line is they have not been compensated this year and paid for their services from clear up to now. That's January, February, March, April, and May. I think it's time we step up to the plate and we pay their invoices. I'm gonna make a motion, we pay all their invoices that they have sent to us.
I haven't got any invoices, Paul.
they come to the auditor's office.
Okay, so I haven't even looked at anything and I'm not comfortable with that personally, so
With paying it,
that's right.
they've earned it.
Can you give me examples of the things that are being done? Because I asked specifically about one instance with a situation with the ready funds and funds were being withheld because they didn't have a contract. So
We didn't have a contract.
the county. So they said they weren't working on behalf of the county. So I'm just curious. I don't know.
Paul, are you going to provide the invoices so we can take a look and see what
I
has
think Chris has got it.
I have them.
Okay. Chris,
I
can
I
you
mean,
send them?
it's a normal monthly contract, what it is, Chris, isn't it? That's the invoice.
We don't
All
have
they're
a
asking
contract.
for is be reimbursed for the old contract,
I was in,
I didn't agree to the old contract.
but we owe the money.
How do we owe money if we don't agree to the contract? I mean, maybe we will work something out once the contract is worked out for the services rendered, whatever they have done this year. I have no problem with that, but at this point, I don't know. What is that? What's the number? I mean, what is it for? Tell me what I think we need to I can't vote on anything like that.
So they've been working for January, February, March, April, May, 5 months, and they've never been paid?
No.
I wouldn't work for 5 months without pay. You wouldn't work for
Yeah.
5 months somewhere without pay.
You're exactly right.
At
That-
some point in time,
Nobody would work 5 months
at some
somewhere
point in
without pay.
time, we gotta pay them. If it's less, we always make an adjustment. If it's more, we make an adjustment. But my thing is, hey, there's 5 months here, soon to be 6 months, soon to be a half year. We need to pay them. And I'm making a motion, we pay them.
Let me just make, I had a comment here, because you talked to another attorney, you didn't talk to me about it. I have a completely opposite view on this, and that is, you're presuming you're gonna continue to contract with these people, right? And if they're not willing to be accountable and transparent, and when you ask for, information, and then you're assuming they're gonna enter into a new contract with them. Maybe they will, maybe they won't.
That's right.
And so to the extent that they have not, I would say you have a legal defense to say, whatever you did was you're volunteering to do something here, because we don't have a contract and you're not providing what we're asking you to provide. And we're not gonna be held, you're not gonna blackmail us into this stuff, when year after year after year, you fail to provide the information we require, which is, and then the council can't do their job in terms of protecting the taxpayers and the reasonable use of tax money. So that's my position on it. Nobody's asked me, I guess, but I am the
Right.
the attorney for this council.
I
I think that's a reasonable position. I don't like the way they do business. I don't think that's a proper way to do business. And I think you guys, I commend you for holding their feet to the fire and saying, you're either gonna provide this information to us, or we got a problem.
I appreciate
The
it. And I
invoices
agree.
that they have presented are based on the payment, the contract of last year. I don't know if that's what the contract's going to be.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, of course, maybe there's a quantum merit argument there. Quantum merit just means you get paid for what you've actually done. Maybe you have that argument. I don't know. But you don't know what they've done. So how can you pay them without a contract,
Exactly.
without knowing what they've done?
Exactly.
And I will say that that's what I was told in January. I have been keeping all of the invoices. I do receive them. I have a file, I put them in, but I was told in January not to pay them until we had the contract. Of course, here we are in May, but I never asked again because that's what I was told in January. So the great thing about my job is I do what you guys tell me. So,
I agree with Rod.
Yeah.
I want to go back to that meeting that we had, and we specifically asked for what your monthly operating expenses were, and they agreed that they would provide us that. I have yet to see that. I don't think Randy has, or I don't know if John Shear has or not, but if he has, it hasn't been shared with me. We wanted all the incidental things removed from there, like the rental income from a warehouse, expenses for property taxes. That's not part of our contract or for services that they're to provide. And all we want to know is what their annual or their monthly operating expenses were. We have not seen that. And that's what we're waiting on, as far as I'm concerned.
And I think there are some salaries being paid, but we don't know, who's being paid by this.
And I thought that was
You know.
understood at that meeting, and I thought we were okay, but evidently not.
So can I ask a question?
Yes.
When did you ask for that? Did you ask for that in January?
No, this is more recent.
Okay.
But was the animal shelter, were you paid without a contract?
No,
No,
absolutely not.
Did
absolutely
you think
not.
she was?
I didn't know.
I mean,
Absolutely not. So that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
don't understand what the problem is. You've asked for documentation and they're not providing it.
yeah, I'm
I don't
uncomfortable
understand
with
what the
moving
problem
forward with
is.
any type of payment until something,
And they're not here.
So your
well, this
motion,
got, and to their defense, this was added by Paul at the last minute.
But when
But-
you hire
but you're right.
a private company to do work for you, you pay for the services. We
Services
don't
rendered.
pay an extra couple $100,000
Yeah.
for them to put in assets in their name and not revert back to the county, because that was the county's money. So they have $3 million worth of assets that they're not turning back to the company and they're a private entity. So when you hire a private person to build you a house for $100,000, you don't give them $300,000 and say, well, maybe you can enhance the county with that extra money. When they need that extra money to buy the property for the county, for a business to come in, then the county council and the commissioners say, we'll come forward at that time and take that extra $150 that you're not needing for operating expenses, and we'll buy that and put it in the county's name, not in the private entity's name.
It is a nonprofit, correct? So it shouldn't be a situation where they're trying to make profit. And my understanding is that you just want what it actually costs to operate. Is that
Right.
correct? Okay.
And not the 20% of the county's money, just the 20%, it doesn't cost 20% to operate this private entity. As a taxpayers, I want them to earn what they need to operate, not extra, a whole 20% just dropped in their lap and say, well, after your expenses, send your board members to weekends in Louisville, which they've done. They pay stipends, they pay consulting fees. The council is appropriating that money, and they have to be accountable to the State Department where all that money of the taxpayers' money gets spent for the county. So you can't just slush 20% to them and say, okay, I don't know where you're putting all that 20%. You're not showing us, they're not transparent. So why do you keep throwing 20% at them? Because they say they're a private company and they don't have to transfer the assets back to the county. But you've got to be accountable with the taxpayers' money. So if they asked for the operating expenses, they had so many days to get it. They failed to get it to them in that amount of days. And they're still not. They're saying to you, they got you the budget for their operating expenses, but the people that they told that they were going to give it to have not received it. So somebody's misinterpreting some information somewhere. They
I'm not
specifically-
misinterpreting anything, because I followed up with the person who was supposed to get it, and they say they haven't.
Yeah, and then they haven't given it to the other.
But they
person.
have.
That's another step.
So,
And to Paul's point, I just wanted to say we're Spencer County's third largest employer.
absolutely, we're glad that employers are here in the county. I'm just saying, when we have a private company, we're asking to.
Can you
just-
come forward?
And what's the role of PCDC that right now that's got you so frustrated? I understand you're frustrated. Is there something that this council can do for you for Wapopka? Are you guys going without a service? Are you guys going without something right now that PCDC was offering you? I mean, heck, maybe these guys
Housing
can.
for our employees to live in instead of driving an hour or 2 hours.
What the permanent process of building a new subdivision, right?
Understand that.
Okay, so what else is there that?
Okay, so there's 37 lots on one and 20 on another, so there's.
I commend them, I mean, that actually happened, right? So, but
Right.
you're so worried about this, the PCDC piece of it. I
Right.
don't understand the connection.
And PCDC also helped do that. Economic growth drives.
The RDC,
Really?
the RDC did
The
that.
RDC
If it
did
weren't for
Right.
PCDC.
The volunteer RDC board did that, but yes.
What'd you say, Paul?
I said the PCDC was very instrumental in getting the ready grants for Forest Canton, also for the departments on, so to answer your question, what they're doing,
Yeah.
they're doing a lot. They have always done a lot. And Rod and I have to follow, are you saying that we can or cannot pay an invoice without a contract?
I'm saying.
Why would you?
Right, I'm saying you have the discretion because you don't have a contract with them, and right now, I mean, whatever they do really is, they're doing it, I mean,
Out of good
for lack of a
faith.
better term, they're voluntarily doing things without a contract. And so, maybe they have an argument for, quantum merit is something in the law that says, if somebody does something and you benefit from that, then you would compensate them for the benefit that you receive from that. And so, but how do you know what that is if they're not responding to your requests? I mean, they have to provide information. I'm not for or against PCDC. My position is one of, if, the council has an accountability to the residents of Perry County and how the tax dollars are spent. They can't perform that function if one of these people that they're relying on is refusing to provide them information. I mean, that's an untenable position for me. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It would be like if somebody came to me and I sent them a bill, and then they said, you know what, can you itemize that for me, right? I send itemized bills anyway, but let's say I didn't send an itemized bill. just send them,
Hospital never sends out invoices.
you know, and then they say, well, just pay us anyway, you know, just pay me anyway. I'm not gonna send you an itemized bill. Well, I don't know if that's ethical, to be honest with you as an attorney, but that's another issue.
Well,
But
that's not exactly
So
what
the point is, they're asking for accountability, they're asking for transparency. I think they're entitled to it, that's all I'm saying.
That's not
And
exactly
Paul,
what you told
who's
me
the
outside
attorney
your
you
office.
checked with? Who was the attorney you said you checked with that said we owe it? Rod?
I didn't say that you had to pay them. I said.
No, I didn't ask you. I said, you know, do you need a contract to pay an invoice? And your answer was no.
No, well, because on certain circumstances, if you have but in this case, what you're doing is you're presuming that they're gonna renew the contract. What happens if they get somebody new? Right?
I just want to be on the record that if a contract is worked out here, which, you know, and one is achieved, I have no problem going back and paying for specific services, whatever was rendered. You know, if they can show what they've done and stuff, I have no problem with that. But at this point, I can't do it.
You know, the Reddit grant are ongoing and they're working on those. I mean, there's always stuff going on, but, and you know, and we get reports. I mean, Kelly, you're on the board, Randy, you're on the board. You get reports of what all's going on, or you should, you know.
I'm not satisfied with those reports, but yes.
Rod, I appreciate you explaining things.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it too.
So basically, economic development should stop because they're not getting paid, and if you don't do a contract, they're never gonna get paid.
That's
That's what I'm
If
hearing.
you don't have the information that's being requested from them, so you can't move forward with even working towards a contract, you're correct.
But Greg is saying that the information has been presented.
I don't know who he's talked to or what he was told. These guys are on the committee with John Cheer, who is working with PCDC. If they don't have the information they're requesting, they can't move forward. So I don't know. I'm not saying he's lying. I'm just saying, you know, I don't know where the disconnect is, but if they don't have the information, how can they move forward?
Gary, did you have something?
Yes, all I did was from the commissioners meeting, it said, we're waiting on this entity. I went to that entity. They said they moved it on to the next entity. I went to that entity. They said they have received it and are working on it.
Who was that
First
entity?
was the PCDC
Oh, yeah.
Executive Director.
Okay.
The second entity was Mr. John Shue.
So
And
they
was
sent it
also
to John
stated that he
Shue?
was out of town, and I'm perfectly fine with somebody being and having a life and being out of town and getting caught up. I just want to know what's next. You guys are not next.
Maybe you can,
explained that well to me, and I thank
Yeah.
you for that. Now I'm hearing again that the PCDC is still not having the information. I will go to their office again. I just want the county to move forward. We are a very unique county. I am not from here, but I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to work for the company I work. We have plans.
Mhm.
We need this county to stay viable and growing.
that's
We
what,
need housing, more than 50 units. It's a start. Check the box. Great. We need sidebar things. The same thing. 2 new restaurants are opening up in the area. That is fantastic. You'd be amazed how much we eat at the Foundry. It is awesome that we have food establishments coming in to draw people in. I know the train, I'm not bringing up the train, but the train brought in business. It's that kind of stuff that we need to be moving forward.
I agree.
And all we're doing is what I'm seeing from the outside is a 3-way finger point. And I'm just asking as a rather large employer in the area, please move forward.
And I think that's what
We
everybody
would
wants.
like.
Yeah.
But we're just telling the other person, please move forward. And then that. goes to the other person.
maybe you can get them to send these guys the information.
Again,
I don't
was
know.
told it was sent, and tomorrow I will go re-verify.
But they say they don't have it, so maybe it needs to be in
I get all
paper
that.
form. I don't know.
I know that.
Just got a message, 6:25. The info was given on May 5th. That came from Aaron Anderson.
What, to who? Who was it given to? Maybe you can ask her.
Mr. John Shue,
Okay, so John has it, but not the other 2 that are on the committee.
that I don't know. He says he has it, and there's other meetings coming, and I'm fine with that. It seems to be like it just stops.
Well, we have,
Nothing against
Yeah.
John, nothing against Dave. Nothing against Randy.
Yeah.
Somewhere, there's 3 people involved. That's not a very big group. Just please keep moving forward.
We have another meeting scheduled for Tuesday, the 31st of May, I think it is,
Outstanding.
at 1 o'clock.
Again, I just want the county to move forward. I know things that I can't tell you. We need this county to grow and be viable.
And maybe they'll
I think
share
that's
the
what we all
information-
want.
Maybe they'll share that information at that meeting. I don't know.
Not what I know they
What?
And that's part of the PCDC
want. Not what I know they want.
being,
No, I
not
think-
being able to
oh,
share.
I think he means the
No,
number,
I meant the,
Perfect.
the numbers he wants.
I made the motion, it's obvious it's not gonna fly, we could pay it, make any adjustments down the road, but I'd say we move on.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's the last item on the agenda.
That is.
I think that's it.
That's all I got.
our next meeting
And then
is scheduled for what, June,
June 23rd.
We need to drink, like, make a motion.
Got this other with the inmate, the clothing. You're not gonna bring that up?
Which one's that?
We got on the agenda. When you moved it.
the misdemeanor fund.
Yes.
Because it's a transfer, I already did it. It's not an additional
It used
appropriation.
not to be explained that way. Am I right?
It's in the same fund.
Okay, that's fine with me. I'm glad.
Remember, you just told me she used the wrong paper.
I know, but it was an appropriation from one fund to another, so that's why we always had to do it in the past. So I just wanna make sure that I get that
It's already,
$1,100.
it's already done.
Okay, great. Awesome.
I would entertain a motion.
That sounds great.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second.
Aye.
Unless she wants to
All
talk.
those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
I'd like to, can I get a minute to address you guys? I was at my kids' games.
They just returned.